After years of debate, voters finally approved $1.7 billion in bonds for Guilford County to fix outdated and rundown school buildings. But now all that money, it's on pause as the state commission has questions about the project. Tomorrow, Guilford County will sit down with the local government commission to address those concerns, hoping to get the green light to move forward. They have to have it before they can sell the bonds to pay for construction. Ahead of that meeting, I talked with the chair of the commission, State Treasurer Dale Falwell. Parents heard this news that the bonds are on hold. Why is that?
Several members of the commission had questions about the enormity of this bond offering. This amount of debt just seems so large in relation to, for example, the state debt that's going to be outstanding in a couple of years, which is about the same amount of money. Pushing this down on the property tax owners is, I think, a very big deal. And our job, my job as the keeper of the public purse, is to advocate for the invisible. You know, people say, well, it's only going to increase property taxes $20 a month. Well, you know, $20 a month when people are paying so much to eat and live and heat their homes is kind of a big deal.
Everyone wants lower property tax, but
right.
Don't we elect local representatives to make that decision for us? Why is the state getting to Bigfoot then?
Well, that's a great question. And, you know, the local government commission was set up 80 years before I was the state treasurer. And it was the result of Asheville having declared bankruptcy because they got out over their skis as far as a tax is concerned.
Parents are still sending kids to schools where the walls are crumbling, the ACs aren't working, and they're waiting and waiting. What would you tell them?
What I would tell them is that actually shame on the management of Guilford County because I think they said in our hearing the other day that some of this deferred maintenance had been out there since the mid-90s and that basically there had not been maintenance done on many of these buildings and the buildings had not been put in the queue, different than what you people have experienced in Forsyth County, where they've constantly every 5 or 8 years tried to refresh their buildings when needed, build new buildings when they needed, and replace buildings where they needed.
What happens if the commission does not sign off on these bonds?
Well, if the commission does not sign off on the bonds, then the county commissioners would have to go back to the drawing board.
I invited Guilford County Commission Chairman Skip Alston to respond to those big claims you just heard. He declined an interview, saying he wanted to respect the process, instead sending over a statement reading in part, "Our voters saw the need and approved the bond issuance. The county is already setting aside funding for the debt repayments, and our county has the highest GO bond rating possible from the 3 national rating agencies. We look forward to working with the LGC through their questions." I also reached out to the superintendent for an interview last week. We're still waiting to hear back from her. Again, the county and the state will meet tomorrow to address these concerns. We're going to let you know what happens.